Welcome. This is our ASOC, Autism Society Orange County Online presentation of the Brainvary Hub. So we are honored to have Miss Kealah Parkinson and Miss Amy Lakeberg, and they are experts who have created this fantastic tool for our community to use. So I will now hand it over to Kealah and Amy for their own introductions. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. So we are very excited to be here. We know some people will be continuing to join us, and so this is being recorded as Robin has just shared. Please participate in the chat as much as you'd like. Amy and I and Robin also will try to make sure we're answering any questions or comments there. There will be some space for you to come off of your mic if you're comfortable and do Q&A at any point. We'll let you know when that happens, but we'll start off just being muted for everyone who isn't sharing so that then we're not getting all the background noise, the usual housekeeping. But hello, everyone who doesn't know me. My name is Kealah Parkinson. I go by Coach Kiki because that's easier than Kealah for a lot of people. I'm a communications coach, and I've been in practice for 17 plus years in the greater Chicagoland area, as well now, of course, as all over the country, all over the globe, because we have this wonderful platform called Zoom, and we can see each other where we are, which is wonderful. And even if time zones get confusing, we're in the place that we want to be whenever we get to connect with each other, which is lovely. As a communications coach, my main thing I teach is how to cycle out of fight or flight in the moment. And if you are somebody who is neurodiverse in any way, or you love somebody who is neurospicy, right, in any way, then fight or flight comes up a lot. Fight or flight comes up a lot for people, and it comes up extra a lot for those of us who are all that neurospicy. So Amy Lakeberg and I have wanted to create something where there is this safe space that can also be virtual and can also offer these types of things, and kind of has that support group feel, but can really silo into what you want and need, and also without excluding people. So we're going to get more into the nuts and bolts of what that is at Brainvary Hub, but you can tell by the name of it that that's the concept. And this is fledgling. It's brand new. You are the first people we're rolling out any of this to, so it's kind of momentous. So congratulations for being here for that. And we hope that it is momentous for the future, because we see this as being something that we have needed, and for our families and for ourselves, and so lots of other people that we know also can use and get wonderful things from. My relationship with Autism Society of Orange County it's been ongoing for a few years now. I was lucky that Robin and company invited my co-authors and I of this book, The Partner's Guide to Asperger's Syndrome. I know, old title name, but we got to write this book together about what it's like to be married to somebody on the spectrum when you're not on the spectrum, and all the different communications challenges that come up from that. And so we did a presentation then, and that out of that grew the wonderful partner support group, which has now been in action for a few years consistently, and is also starting to migrate over to Brainvary Hub. It's been a wonderful relationship. I love all the people I've met out on the West Coast and all the places that ASOC serves, and I just want to thank Robin personally for continuing that amazing, powerful tradition. Amy is somebody who has attended those meetings. She and I also have a lot of overlap locally. We're in the also Chicago area. Northwest Indiana is our actual stomping grounds. And I'm going to let Amy tell more about herself.
Hi, so glad to be here, and thank you for that introduction, Kealah. Once again, my name is Amy Lakeberg, and welcome to our meeting, and one of our first big meetings about Brainvary Hub, and I'm really happy that you're here with us today. Brainvary Hub is a creation that I'm really excited to share with you. Kealah and I invested or created this idea, I believe it was, if I'm correct, one day last summer. And we wanted to create it because we wanted to help people, and we wanted to establish a community that could assist with neurodiversity. And we knew that people who were neurodiverse themselves, as well as family members that were neurodiverse, would be the best ones to have an understanding of neurodiversity. I myself identify as being neurodiverse, and also a PDA. Basically, how I define PDA is a pervasive a drive for autonomy, meaning that your experience is one that you think about the first. Um, However, I know in in the medical community, it has often been called a few different ones, such as pathological demand avoidance and ODD, which is oppositional defiant disorder. Um, that term itself, especially the oppositional defiant disorder, creates a lot of negativity, and that was one of the main factors that I wanted to create this community. That my own personal experience of PDA would help others, so they would not have to struggle as much uh, with themselves or others. And um, that is basically my introduction. On a side note, I also a homeschooling mother, and um, I've been doing that for about 5 years for now. So
Yeah, we actually met in the homeschool community, which is, as you can imagine, full of all kinds of wonderful neurodiversity. And so we were definitely sharing a lot of resources. We were like, hey, we need to connect more, right? Yeah, absolutely. So I muted myself for a second because there are some sirens. Maybe they're making their way around the lake toward you, Amy. We'll find out in a second. But Amy has her screen shared. And if you cannot see the screen share, please jump into the chat and let us know. I think everybody can view it. What she's got here is the community start page, the welcome page. We're going to, in fact, let me see if it's still there. Nope, it's not still there. I need to, we need to pop into the chat our link so that you can use this if you'd like at any point today. And you can go to the same spot where Amy is, but she's getting ready to walk us all through what it's like to sign up for this. And so I think actually you want to get to the first page, right? The start page there. I'm going to grab that link and pop it into the chat while Amy is moving her screen over to the first page that you'll see if you use that link. And whenever you're ready to do that, Amy, just go ahead and start
okay.
into that page. That's awesome. And then we're going to together walk you through what you see. So don't mind what you're seeing yet. She's going to pull up the first page that you see. And again, I'll put the link in the chat, but we want to let you know what Brainvary Hub is, right? We've said that it's a community, it's an online community. Right now, even though we have the website address, we are not tricking out. That's our long-term goal, is to have all this hosted with ourselves, and in-house. But right now we are using an app where, there are a lot of community hosting apps that are available right now. And we have particularly chosen one called Heartbeat. And you can probably guess from the name, we loved that right away. It's really about creating community that's very heart-centered. And there are a lot of people showing up like us that are, who are there. So we thought people could also find other communities that they might want there as well. Also, we find that when you're there, it's not a kind of app that is very spammy and pops up and tells you like, hey, while you're doing this, you might want to go check this out, right? Like it's kind of like a closed loop social media in a way, in case you haven't used one of these communities before. Amy's getting to that link, and because we want to show you what it looks like. Because even we were like, okay, when we first sign up, we need sort of someone to walk us through what this looks like. And on that start page, you'll see where it asks you to introduce yourself, sort of set up a profile, and then there is a small subscription fee. And we chose this on purpose because there are a few different hosting tiers, and we decided that we wanted it to be a very low subscription fee that gives you everything you need, except for, of course, some course content that's professional might be for a purchase point, right? But what we really wanted was for people to have something where they can communicate, connect with different people. Maybe there will be meetups in the future for different locations, but for sure you can kind of pop in at any point and ask a question, get a resource, connect with somebody who's either going through what you're going through, or find some just happy thoughts, right? Like maybe guided meditations, maybe videos, or Giphies and memes and things that are just sort of fun, kind of the sort of things that you get in a Facebook support community, except for not pop-up ads, not, there's no ads that are there as well. It's just this closed loop sort of social community that is what we all are looking for. And then also it has this capacity to host live virtual meetings like this without an external Zoom link, without needing a separate platform, and being able to have niched support groups that meet in the way that our partner support group does at ASOC. And without taking away from the other things. So one thing we're also looking for, here we go. Here's the first page you're going to see. Amy's going to walk us through. That's the first thing you're going to see. So Amy, do you want to tell people, and also if we're kind of back and forth on some of what we're sharing with you here and you've got other questions, maybe I haven't finished a thought, please jump in the chat or raise your virtual hand if you do have a question at any point. Even though we have Q&A later, I don't want to lose anybody with anything because I'm also very excited to share with you what's going on. And so sometimes when I get really excited, my neurodiversity is I will speak too quickly and jump over things. And as a communications coach, I also still have to work on my own challenges. Amy, do you want to share what's happening here and what people are going to see?
Sure. So right now, if you can see this, it has a preview look inside Brainvary Hub, and it tells you some information about some specific classes that I will talk about in the next segment. But it also has here where it says ready to join, and there is a button right here that you can click on. And that would be where you would be able to purchase it. Like Kealah had said, it is only $8 currently right now. And since you are here today, we also are going to talk about later a special offer that you can purchase one of these extra classes for free. So I want to show you, I will click back onto my original screen, so bear with me for a moment.
Yeah. I'm going to jump into it just really for a second, Amy, and say when you click that purchase, then the next thing it does is it asks you to set up your profile, right? And we are working on a YouTube video so people can look at that externally and see sort of what are those types of steps, but it's pretty straightforward as far as like it guides you through what the next thing to click is. So it's set up your profile, add a picture. If you don't want your face to be on there, add any sort of like little cartoon picture, right? Add a still of flowers or something. It may even have some basics that you can add in. I think it has the option, Amy, where you can like just put some sort of, still photo that's not your face, because the whole point is really just what represents you and your profile. And in some ways you can think of this as like the old-fashioned MySpace page if you're as old as I am, or you remember that reference, right? Like it's a little bit about who you are. You're coming to Brainvary Hub, you're sort of setting up your avatar in a way, but it's about you and it's your representation, right? And so there are some questions that we'll ask you too that it fills in automatically to create your profile bio. Like, what are some strengths that you have, right? What are you coming here to learn? And that we curated those questions to help you set up your bio and your profile so that we understand as soon as you join what you're bringing to the community, because it's a dynamic community that grows and changes each time a new person does join.
Yeah, this is great. Thanks for that. I went back to the onboarding page, and here you can see there's some things where you can tell us a little bit about yourself if you would like, and I could actually click on that in a moment and show you our bios. And they'll ask you a couple other questions right here, like what's one big win you've had over the last couple of weeks, because we think that even small wins, within something that's neurodiverse or possibly not, is a big deal, right? And one thing that you're looking forward to learning or getting to learn from the community. There is the intro button right there, and just a few other things, including, like they said, a profile picture, but as Kealah said, that's not something that you have to keep on there either. So if we go back to some of our here we go, our intros just a little bit. So a few of us have entered in some introductions. I know that would be the page where you'd probably want to start. It wouldn't have to be anything that would be that hard to enter in. Another section would be so would be like general information. So that might be where you might see some really cool features, such as possibly meditations that we're working on currently. I have some videos also, and I can show you where the video library is going to be located. The videos have come from a Facebook community that I don't think I mentioned that I originally had started, which was PDA. And on the Facebook community, I had uploaded probably like maybe 20 different videos about transitions, meltdowns, all different things that are really, really helpful for yourself, for your child, or possibly your partner. So this would be where some of that information would go. Anything else you want to say about the general section, Kealah?
Yeah, so general section also right now is sort of the catch-all, right? Where like we can pop in, you can say what's going on with your day. We sort of are jumping in here and there. And again, we're really just kind of beta testing this as we start with. We've had just a couple of users. And so it's very exciting to start to really onboard actual, genuine, ongoing users and start to roll this out. But we'll continue to do this sort of thing where it's like, again, just like stimulating conversation, asking questions, sharing wins, doing that sort of thing. You can see on your screen that there's a recording there. And that was just me doing a guided grounding meditation kind of for the day, right? And I like to do something like weekly Mindful Monday, things like that. And so getting those sorts of tools and resources there that are curated for what you're going through. If you're in the general section and you're like, here's what's coming up today, and maybe nobody has lived experience to share with you about that, but I could always create then a guided meditation. And we actually have a friend who's coming in as well, who will be kind of a part-time moderator in the group and who is a professional meditation teacher and leads circles, women's circles and things. And we'll be really, I think, dialing up the professionalism and just the value of those kinds of grounding meditations. For maybe meditation isn't your thing and you never want to listen to those, and that's the great part, is you don't have to click on that if that's not the material that you want. But it's one of the things that we like, and I find that when my brain is going in all kinds of different ways for whatever's happening, whatever kind of fight or flight, whatever kind of neurodiverse triggers I'm having, getting grounded and centered, it's harmonizing. I can give myself a warm hug. I can, do some cross calls. I can do the types of things that help me also neuro process while I'm listening to it, or I can stay still and grounded and just focus on my feet, right? So these are the types of things that they're lived for us. We also are part of the community. And so, we're taking our professionalism and our personal lived experiences and we're bringing this in. And we're going to be welcoming also even more, trained and professional therapeutic individuals who are coming into the community as well. And also trying to figure out what you want. I put a little note in the chat here too, by the way, while you're watching. If you want to jump into the chat, just tell us what it is you're looking for in this kind of community so that we make sure we're onboarding that right away, or we're speaking to where we already have it and letting you find that there. And if you've never used a community like that, you can share this as well. Like, I don't even know, I've never used these platforms. That's daunting to me. That's important for us to know too, because we want to make this as accessible and easy to use as possible.
Quick question on that. So you've mentioned that our autistic partner support group book studies will be done via this app. Will it, like, because I haven't done a lot of these apps where it's like a closed loop social media, do you log into a video call via your computer or your phone or both?
Yes.
How does that walk through that?
Thanks, Melissa. That's a really great question. So yes, this is available as an app and you can have it right there. You can go to any kind of device, right? You can use a tablet, you can use a desktop. I'm on my desktop right now, but I also have this in my phone, and you can real time be in both places if you wanted to, right? And that's your account. And so it shows up pretty similarly in both places, which is great. I know for a lot of platforms, it's like, oh, you can only do this in the mobile or vice versa. And that was something else that we really liked about Heartbeat. We spent some time figuring out where we would launch this. And a big part of why we chose this was because it's very comprehensive. It synthesizes with a lot of other platforms. So for instance, using Zoom in-house, right? It partners with it where we don't have to have a separate kind of launch site. You can go directly in the platform, launch that from the platform without having to have like the Zoom app on your phone, for instance, right? So we love that as a special benefit. And so that's exactly how that will be set up when we do the Partners Guide book studies. There'll be a link that's right there. You don't have to register for the event. You just show up when it's happening and you come right into it. And then some of those will be closed, like that one, for instance, right? The Partners Guide book study. We'll do different versions of that, just like we did with ASOC whenever we met last year, doing it in that way. We'll do versions where maybe it's show up and it's couples and you're talking together about it. And maybe it'll be like all the different types, because we've certainly had that in our support group there. We've had all the different types of couples, right? And whatever that looks like for your couplehood or partnership, it can be more than one. We've had thruples, we've had whatever, whoever shows up and needs to figure out this conversation style in long-term adult relationships, then that's the person who wants to show up. But we'll also do these silo ones, for instance, right? So maybe get really, really specific. You're a hetero woman, not on the spectrum, married to a hetero man who is on the spectrum, and you want to talk about like the specific challenges that are for you in that relationship without offending your partner, right? And you just want a place where you can vent and get support and then speak more in a more resourced and productive way in the relationship. We will have, that is the goal. That's one of the main goals with this. And without saying, okay, we have to hire all these people, we have to set all this stuff up, like it's here, it's organic, the structure will grow and change too. But that's one thing that Amy and I both love, is this is a community that we're all creating together. Did that answer your question, Melissa? Good, thank you.
I just want to mention too that if you've heard of PDA North America, maybe you're hearing about that organization. They've been around for a little while. I have training level 2 with PDA North America. So besides also having family members who are on the spectrum and PDA as well as myself, I do have some professional training. And I'm very active in their community. I try to watch as many webinars as I can because a lot of their information is helpful, and they're a very good resource, and someone that hopefully, I hope in the future, that we'll probably be collaborating with. So
yes, I think that you've got not just training from them, but they also endorsed your Facebook community, Amy?
They did endorse our Facebook community.
And that,
yes, that is true. Thank you for that.
Yeah, sure. That community is PDA Self-Help. That is Amy's Facebook community. And then she's taken the information she's gotten from her training, the lived experiences, and some of what she's done with the group there. And that's what you're going to see here in the courses. Do you want to click there and move into that next? Because this is the higher tier material that will also be there, again, to use if you'd like. And these courses will be growing as well. I'm going to be putting something together on emotional intelligence and processing feelings, also coming from a neurospicy place, and just in general about what emotional intelligence is and can look like and can be, because that's a lot of my professional work. But this is what Amy already has available at the site. And this is part of the offer that we're making just today. I did mention in the beginning here that we have intentionally chosen for this to be just an $8 subscription without different tiers, right? So a lot of places will do membership tiers where you get more if you buy into the VIP level. And we just want this to be $8 because we figured, what's a high-end cup of coffee cost these days? $8 to $10, right? So even on the low end of that, and we kind of looked at it nationwide, right? And then we were like, this is the low end of that. And maybe you don't like coffee and that's not your thing, but it's cheaper than a yoga class, right? It's cheaper than an online mindful breathwork seminar, right? Like it's cheaper than a lot of these things. And the concept is to have all of this here. And so we also want to say, if you want it to grow more, invite your friends, share. It's only $8 a month. And so it's like treating yourself, to beautiful self-care that's available any day for a once a month nice cup of coffee. But then there also are these options for the courses. Yeah, and those are things you can buy into and get even more detail to learn at your own pace. And there's part of an offering where you get one of those if you sign up today with Brainvary Hub. For only the $8, you will get one of Amy's courses, and Amy's going to tell you much more about that.
Yeah, thanks for that, Kealah. I was thinking too, like, I know I had a community I had joined like a while back, and it was like the one place, that I felt like I could go to on my phone every day that would be comforting. And I'm hoping that that's how Brainvary Hub will be. That'll be like a comforting place for you to be able to share something that, or you'll see something else that would be supportive. And as you can see here, I have a class, one of them. There'll be more coming out. This one is more that I'm working on getting uploaded here. This one is a connection with your PDA. So, and you can see I have different modules here. So, the first one is called Connection Comes Before All Else, and this was basically I didn't want to make it difficult, and I'll show you in a minute, like what the preview looks like. But it was just like a quick handout of some questions that you could use to start a collaboration approach with your child, or you can tailor it to your partner or another individual. I have used this strategy with my own child. So when times were difficult, I can tell you from real experience that this approach has actually worked. It does require some effort, and it does require you to have ability to slow down, which is something that I had to learn over the course of my life. But I will click more on it so you can see it now a little bit. It's kind of like showing you what you would get from this, and this is the one that we were offering you today later on for coming on here. And here's it saying you can gain self-care skills, and I'm sure Kealah can attest to that with some of her coaching, that learning self-care is kind of like the first important aspect to be able to be in a neurodiverse relationship, I feel like. And as I said, this is like the first course in the Conquer PDA series. And I put my first step, self-care, is unlock what you need to be to become the best parent, or you can tailor it to the best partner or the best person for yourself, even if you're doing this just for yourself. So there's going to be some videos included on accessing meditations, and the first module is your self-care list of how to get yourself back on track. So like I said, from my own personal experience, I started to feel very disconnected from myself, and a little bit of that disconnection, I think, probably resulted, or you could see it in my other relationships within my family members. So once I was able to connect with myself a little bit better, kind of like what Kealah was saying, with like interests and grounding and meditations, I felt like I could be more like myself, and then I could help my son. And that was one of the first steps. So the second module on here is learning your own emotional and self-regulation skills. So usually in neurodiverse relationships, emotions, and I'm not quoting this for everyone, is something that blocks communication. So when a child is upset, they usually cannot communicate. And a lot of times it's the same in your neurodiverse relationship. When there's some kind of emotion that is blocking the brain, then it's very hard to communicate. So this is going to give you some really quick skills about how you can regulate yourself. Do you want to add anything about that, Kealah?
Yeah, Yeah, thanks. Well, the first thing I want to say is that one thing I love about learning from Amy is that when it comes to PDA in particular, she knows what it's like to parent it. She knows what it's like to be in relationship with it. And she knows what it's like to live with it. Right. And so she's very much like, okay, these strategies have to work 3 different ways in my house if they're going to work at all. Right. Any one of them needs to work in 3 different ways at any given time. And I mean, just feel like that's like living and learning about PDA on steroids. And that's why I think she's so well adapted to be the one to teach us in this. And, you'll hear us talk a lot about like just neurodiversity, neurospiciness, right? Like different thinking, all of that. We're not necessarily saying spectrum for everything because Brainvary Hub isn't just about spectrum. Spectrum is part of it also. And PDA can show up also in a kid with ADHD or an adult with ADHD, right? It could show up, I'm someone who has lived with depression. I have lived with mood disorders. I have lived with suicidality and addiction. And I have written another book that's about emotional processing that shares a little bit of that history as well. And so I have a lot of lived experience that for me is not spectrum, but shares a lot of things with self-regulation on spectrum. And so understanding it from a different place, right? And this is what I love about Brainvary Hub is it doesn't say, well, you have this and you have this and you have this and everyone's in their silos. Sure, we can be there when it comes for the need to get that support because that's really important. And this is part of that bringing like all that rich neurodiversity together in a way that isn't just I don't know, it's colorful, it's wonderful, it is the rainbow, and it's also definitely about how this is a challenge, right? We think differently, we want to better society. That's me. Maybe this is just my perspective of it from my neurodiversity, but I just think that it's a wonderful thing. And also there's the challenge of how do we mask? How do we unmask? How do we show up and be our best selves and our real selves and also be healthy contributors to society? And this is a great place for us to practice that with each other. That's one of the goals that's there. And so when it comes to, I've read through a lot of the course material that Amy has, and I'm just like, oh, I am learning so many amazing things from this. And it's really things that you can put into practice, like her just knowing that transitions are going to be a challenge and that you need to like prepare for that to some degree without overthinking and finding that little balance. To me, that is just enlightenment right there. I mean, like, oh yeah, duh, we know that leaving in the morning is an issue, even though it's part of the routine. It is a transition, right? So that's one thing I think is really great about this course. And again, part of the level of what's getting offered here.
Great. I'm glad you said something about transitions because once I became aware of transitions, that made all the difference. A lot of it was awareness, and I have a special video on transitions.
As part of
that should be,
yeah,
absolutely. Yes, definitely. Transitions are key points. So I wanted to mention too that one part is a lot of this involves we know that we can't change everyone's behavior. Like if we had a magic wand, we wish we could. Especially maybe your partners or our family members or your child's. But the biggest thing is that you can make these small changes, right, for yourself. And I do believe, and I have seen it do a ripple effect in my family. Over the course of the last 2 years, I've seen a huge difference with my son, and I know that you could also too, and hopefully you won't have to struggle with some of this coursework. The biggest thing is being able to learn the self-care and the modeling behavior. I think is kind of like the key point. Kealah, you probably teach a lot of that in coaching, right?
For sure, and have to practice it too. For sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to take this time now to like move into some Q&A because, there's some overlap with ASOC is providing some. Also, I just want to say congratulations, Robin, and everyone there on the new website and how amazing that is, and just the resources that are there. In a way, this is for sure goals for us, right? That's something we also want to connect and provide as sort of that resource database. And I think you can't have too many of those, right? Like ASOC will be one of the first places that we send people and have information and put into our resource database, because why not have a database that's also a database? I mean, I just think you can't find that stuff enough, and I also feel like it's really, really, really important to share the healthy resources that are out there. So ASOC is definitely one of them. But I do want to just open it up to any questions anyone has, whether you feel like you'd like to raise your hand and ask a question. Excuse me, I've been talking a lot today. Or whether you'd like to jump in the chat. So does anyone have any questions? Or Amy, do you have anything else you want to say before we take questions?
I do want to mention that I have I can actually click on this really fast. There is some free access to some documents that I have up currently, that you can check out, which I just pulled up one right here, Why You Need to Become Your Best Self to Heal Others, which is kind of like my favorite document.
Yes, I love that too. And she's making a video for this also. Yeah.
So there is some free resources as well as some more content that is going to be coming out really soon. So
yeah.
I was going to throw something in the chat, and then you said, "Hey, Q&A time." But you asked, "What do we want this to be?" And I know you and Robin and I, we know each other through the partner support group, the autistic partner support group. And I think one of the things I'm looking for is these are great. This is wonderful. First of all, and then also, ironically, a space for grief. Like, why do I have to be the one to be doing all this or leading the way, or because that caretaker role does come into play. And so just being able to be open and honest about that in a private space. We just spoke up in the partner support group, like how important that connection to people in your similar position are. So I just wanted to, resources are great and relationships are great, but also where's the next piece that really helps us not feel isolated, not feel alone, not feel like I'm doing, yes, caregiver grief, absolutely.
Yeah.
And being able to care for ourselves as caregivers, and knowing that, hey, it takes a little bit more work to do what we're doing. And how do we keep ourselves healthy, which this is why I love the meditations and everything in there has been beautiful, but then recognizing that connection of like, hey, to take care of yourself, also recognize that this is hard.
Yes.
So thank you. Yeah.
That's a huge part of it. And I want to say too, whether wherever we are, if we're the ones who love the neurospicy people, if we ourselves are neurospicy, if it's both, right? Because that's the space that a lot of us live in too, where it's like I am and they are, and it's a different type, and I don't know yours and you don't know mine, and we're trying to figure this out together. And or maybe you live on your own and there's not someone you have to share. Maybe you don't even have roommates, but you're still like, how do I show up when I leave the apartment or whatever, right? Like I want that to be, it's a very important thing to say, this is work. My caregiver burnout may be from my self-care, right? And so I love that you asked for that, Melissa. It's got to be forefront, right? And if Amy, do you mind scrolling down and showing on our sidebar? There's feed, there's courses, there's events, there's directory, which is where that database will go. There's a space for matchups, which is interesting. I don't know if you can see that on the left-hand side of the screen here. But that's also something that we are going to be adding as we start to bring on more people, is sort of this peer mentor matchup, right? Somebody who's going through some things that you are just wanting to learn about. There's the 4 levels of learning where there's like the unconscious, inexpert kind of, and you just don't even know what you don't know. And then you start to become conscious of the fact that you need to learn things. And that's where you maybe starting to like learn from other people. And then you start to kind of get better at it, and you're aware of the fact that you're learning, right? And you're aware that you're getting more pro at it, and so you move into that level, and then that's where you become sort of a peer mentor in a way. And then you get to that place where you forget that you ever had to learn it to begin with, and then you move into sort of more of a professional space, right? But in those 4 levels, there's a space for us here to connect with each other too. And so that's one of the things that will be an option. And beneath that, you can see where we have like, here intros, here's a voice room where you can say, hey, I have a question about this. Does anybody know? And you can just have a impromptu support group chat with your voices I don't know if anybody remembers the old Periscope, and then there was another one recently that was all voice and teaching, and you just sort of show up and this thing is happening, and it's like a panel discussion is happening. Like there's a space for that too. So whatever of the old apps spoke to you, like it's all here in Heartbeat, which is pretty cool. Thanks for adding that part about grief, Melissa, because we can make that be a piece of this too. You can also see further down where, you know, there's announcements and there's questions, and then you see how Amy has emotional regulation, best self, self-care. She and I both have kind of brainstormed some things, started to create some of these communities, some of these more niched conversation places, right? And adding a space for grief. Amy, I'm making a note of that. That's going to be like our next step right away as soon as this ends. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really glad because I understand the grief part of it very well. And there definitely can be some resources coming out to address that. I absolutely understand that from a personal viewpoint.
Well, and can you hear me? I've been having some audio stuff. You're good? Okay. And I know too, if we want to kind of umbrella it a little bit, the grief of not having a diagnosis till you're in your like 30s, you know, some of just any kind of grief related to, yeah, all of this.
I agree. The grief point is very, I mean, if you're just a personal side note, like I never knew that I was, you know, on the spectrum when I was younger because people did not realize that a lot of some of the different, you know, aspects of autism. So I understand.
Yes, great. Okay. So I'm not sure if Angela, who was jumping off, got this in time, but we're putting it in the chat also. And Robin, I see your hand. I'm going to call on you in just a second. We're sharing where you can reach out to us directly. And then this is the link as well. And again, if you use that today and you join up with us, then we are going to give you that course for free. If you are not sure about today, but you want to snag the course, reach out to us immediately today and let us know that so that we can sort of hold a space for you and give you that, because we also just want to say thank you for coming to this today. We're so grateful that you're putting your time into this and that you're curious about it. And if you think it is something you want to use, we'll just extend that in that way. For sure, anybody who signs up today is going to get it, no questions asked. And if you refer somebody, you know, that's something that we can also consider offering, because we do really want to say thank you. We really want to grow this community, and how wonderful to get all of that for $8. Robin, please go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, hi. So my question is about the courses. So I'm the kind of person, when I take a class, especially online, like I need something after to keep. So I'm just wondering, is there like a PDF or helpful hints or bullet points, or are we able to access the course again after we've taken it the first time?
That's a great question. I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, the materials should still be available, and also they are documents, so I have them as PDFs. So you should be able to easily go back to them, print them off, and you can always actually let me show you this quick too. I'm excited. Okay. There are threads, or there will be threads about like the different coursework. So here would be like a thread that we could start talking about a different document. So if you got a question about the specific module in the course, you can go to one of these threads. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, great. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Sure.
And Melissa just joined. Woohoo! Welcome back for real, girl.
Great.
That's wonderful. Yeah, so you know, you're already knowing people who are there. Unless you don't know Melissa, then you just need to sign up and get to know her, because she's awesome and she's a fount of resource also. All right, any other questions? And again, you don't have to come off of mute if you don't want to. You can always ask in the chat. You can certainly email us if you feel more comfortable addressing Robin. She is, she has raised her hand. She's in the community. She's also a moderator of the group, which is such a blessing for her to be able to do this. And she will, we're not asking her to do anything extra there, but she has gifted us the opportunity for her to be there as well. And so if you have questions and Robin may not have the answer, but you feel more comfortable interacting with her, she will reach out to us and get those answers to you also. And thank you, Robin, for sharing your direct email address as well for people who would like to contact you that way.
So I have my email address up there also, so if you have any questions for me about any of the content besides just the classes, feel free to reach out.
Okay, so the last thing we want to say too is we want to say thank you again for being here. We'll stick around for just a little bit if somebody wants to maybe like ask a few more questions. We're here and we'll just be chatting with Robin and whoever wants to stick around. But we just really want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. And if it sounds interesting, but maybe you don't know enough, or you're worried that it might not have something that you want in a community, or maybe you're just sort of like a little fatigued with having to learn a new platform. First of all, we hear you and we see you. And we do think this is a pretty easy one to onboard onto with all the pretty like clicks and pictures and whatever. And so don't let that stop you, right, from getting the resources that you needed from growing this community. And for sure, let us know if you feel like there's something it's got to have for you to join. Just let us know, and we're the ones who are going to make it happen. And we will.